You're listening to Beyond Wellness Radio, bringing you the cutting edge in health, biohacking, and sports performance. Stay up to date and listen anywhere and anytime on your computer, tablet, or smartphone by subscribing on iTunes. Catch your host, Dr. Justin Marchegiani, as he answers your burning health questions as well as interviews from world-renowned guest experts. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to beyondwellnessradio.com.
Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani. Welcome to Beyond Wellness Radio. Feel free and head over to beyondwellnessradio.com where you can access our full podcast transcriptions. While you're there, you can also sign up for our thyroid and female hormone video series. This series goes into the root cause of why your hormones are out of balance. While you're there, you can also schedule a functional medicine consult with Dr. Justin, myself, where we'll dig deeper into the root cause of your health challenges. Feel free and think of sharing this podcast with at least one person. This podcast grows by people sharing it. Sharing is caring. If you can think of one person that can benefit from this information, please feel free and share it. If you're enjoying the podcast, make sure you subscribe on iTunes. You can also click below the video or podcast where you'll see the iTunes review button and leave us a review. You can also sign up for the newsletter at beyondwellnessradio.com where you'll get updates before anyone else. Thank you so much and enjoy the show. Hey there, it's Dr. Justin Marchegiani. Welcome back to Beyond Wellness Radio. Today we have a really great interview with Rachel Adams. Rachel has a real interesting story. She's an executive, owns 4 different businesses, is really big in the real estate industry, and she had a health crisis about 3 years ago. And she's taken a lot of the health principles that we talk about on the show, sleep, diet, nutrition, exercise, and she's really turned her health around. I think it's great for people that are in or were in Rachel's situation to really have the hope to see someone that's been where they are now and get out of it. So I am happy to introduce Rachel to the show. Rachel, how you doing?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Happy whatever day today is to you.
Happy Monday, right?
Happy Monday.
Cool. Well, why don't you share with the listeners your story? I think you have a compelling story. People that are trying to make it, whether it's their executives or entrepreneurs or just a busy, housewife that's trying to make it by and is struggling with health symptoms. Why don't you just talk about yourself and your story?
Definitely. I really I've always kind of been a person who has struggled a little bit with like weight and body issues. And I'm 5 feet tall, so I'm never going to grow vertically. I'll only grow horizontally.
Right.
And so for me, weight's been something I've really struggled with. But what happened is that I hit top 1,000 agents in the country for the Wall Street Journal for real estate in 3 years. And so from the outside looking in, my world looked perfect. Like if you want to talk about like the Facebook life, right? Because everything you see on Facebook is real.
Exactly.
And so, I had the perfect car, the perfect life, the perfect job. But what people didn't know is that, a lot of times in the struggle it takes to have such massive success in 3 years, you give up some stuff. And some of the things that I wasn't necessarily admitting to people was that in the 3 years, I had gotten a divorce that I never dealt with. I had gained 32 pounds, and I was putting everybody else's needs in front of my own, like family, friends, clients, you name it. And my corporate company, Keller Williams Realty, they heard there's this young girl, she's doing big things, like let's bring her down to Texas to headquarters and interview her on how she's leading this amazing lifestyle and she's so successful. Because at the time, I'm literally traveling all around the U.S., like coaching people on how to build a business and work on their mindset. So I go to Texas to shoot this commercial, and I'm sitting down with Nina Rowan Heller, and she is an international health and wellness coach. She's coached Matthew McConaughey, founders of Microsoft, like leadership Keller Williams. And I go there, and I, get hair and makeup done. I'm wearing like the most serious pair of Spanx you can find.
Right.
Like, suck it all in. And I go to interview with her, and I'm used to people asking me questions about real estate, so I've got like my normal canned answers. But we're going through the questions, and Nina stops and kind of gives me a funny look, and she's like, and how did that make you feel? And I'm like, feel? I mean, bumps and bruises, what you do is you do. And then we keep talking, and she stops again, and she's like, and how did that make you feel? I'm like, I mean, it was tough, but that's what happens. And so we keep talking, and she kind of like gets this funny smirk on her face, and she looks at the camera crew, and she's like, hey guys, can I get you to step outside for a second? And they step outside, and I'm like, what is going on, And she takes my hand, and she says something to me that I'll never forget. She said, Rachel, have you ever heard that your video isn't matching your audio? Like what you said you're doing, it's clear you're not doing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I've heard it, but not in relation to me. And she's like, sweetie, what's really going on? And I'll tell you, Justin, it was like in this workout bench in Texas in this fancy outfit, I just like burst into tears.
Right.
And I just said, you know what, Nina, I got a divorce and I've never dealt with it. And I thought that if I shoved it down far enough, it'd go away. But unfortunately, it's showing up in different ways. It's showing up in unhealthy food habits. It's showing up in, like, I'm like, Nina, I literally have a headache, but I also didn't sleep well last night. So I'm taking an Advil with a cup of coffee.
Oh,
man. I
poor gut.
know. And I'm just like, I was happy on the outside because I choose to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
But when I went home at night, like I wasn't happy. And we end up instead of doing this interview, we have this amazing 2-hour conversation about what my life could look like if I was truly leading it with authenticity and intention. And instead of feeling like my divorce was something I needed to be ashamed of, know that it's just part of my journey. And she actually sent me home. I never got to shoot the commercial. I cried for like 2 days. But I had this moment. And I had this moment 2 days later sitting on my floor in my living room. And I remember looking up to the sky or the roof, to God, whatever you want to call it. And I just said, I know I'm meant for more. Like, I can't have gone through all that I've gone through and have this amazing platform of people I get to connect with to not be meant for more. So I took a step back and I realized that I had some people in my life and potentially some things in my life that weren't actually serving me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went on this 90-day journey of self-discovery, and pretty much everything changed.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you kind of hit rock bottom with this interview, right?
Yeah.
The lady, it seemed like, was asking a lot of questions that were drawing a lot of introspection, kind of looking at your health, looking at your life. Does that sound right?
100%.
And what was the first change you made? Okay, so now you're at rock bottom. What's the first change you made with your health or your mindset that kind of got this journey going for you?
So I looked at my life and I said, okay, I know that I'm not leading my life at the level that I want to. So if I could pick 2 things to remove from my life, like 2 distractions, if you will, what are those distractions? Like, what could they be? And if I remove them, what could my life look like? And at the time, a little embarrassing to say, I was actually on 3 online dating sites. And that's a distracting thing to have, the little pings always coming at you. And then drinking. So I took out dating and all alcohol for 90 days just to kind of see what would change for me.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And what was the result of that?
Well, the thing about it, like with taking out alcohol for me was a really big deal because it wasn't like I was drinking every night of the week, but I would have, happy hours with girlfriends or a cocktail with clients. And you can have the greatest intentions about food for the day, but once you have a couple cocktails in you, you're like, yeah, let's split the French fries. Sure, we can have cheesecake,
Of course.
So when I took out alcohol, like I found that I was coming home earlier, and instead of having a glass of wine at night, I had a cup of tea, and I was having all this time to sit at my house, and I was like, what do I want for my life? So I start journaling, and then I start reading about meditation. And then when you're not like hungover every morning, or any morning rather, you go, okay, well, maybe I'm going to go to bed a little earlier. So if I wake up earlier, what if I start to exercise? So I started doing a morning routine with just like getting out of bed. And I made these little rules for myself. And one of my rules was I feel like so many times people, the very first thing in their body they put in their body in the morning is coffee. And I was one of those people. So before I went to bed every night, I put a glass of water by my bed. And my rule was that before my 2 feet hit the floor, I would drink that glass of water because your body naturally dehydrates as you sleep. And so I drink water. And then when I got out of bed, I just set this simple exercise routine up where I would drop to the ground and I would do like 22 push-ups and the simple ab routine and some squats. and just like something to get my blood moving. And then I would take my journal and I would write 3 things I was grateful for every morning. And in the beginning, it's like kind of surfacey stuff, like
Yeah.
I'm grateful for, the air. And then you start to get really deep and you're like, I'm grateful for my struggles. I ended up being grateful for my divorce. Like, who knew?
Right. Right. And then what
But
was the best thing for you emotionally? Because as a functional medicine doctor, we
yeah,
deal with a lot of the metabolic things, right? Diet,
yeah,
lifestyle,
yeah.
we do fancy lab tests and create protocols, but a lot of what creates dysfunction or dis-ease, right, in someone's body is a lot of the emotional things that are unprocessed. And you
Hmm.
mentioned the divorce and those kind of things. How did you process that? What were the steps that you went through afterwards to help eradicate that?
Well, I didn't even necessarily know that they were like, they didn't turn into steps for me. I was just, what starts to happen is when you decide you're going to commit to, eating clean or you're going to do an exercise routine, like when you start to feel good, like what happens is you'll make one good decision. Like, okay, I'm going to take out drinking for 90 days. And after you do one good decision, then you make another good decision. You're like, well, maybe I should start to look at what I'm fueling my body with, because, you know, I think that like when I was going through the divorce, I was like, I'm really sad. I should eat comfort food. Or like, I'm happy. It's a great day. I'm going to eat a celebratory meal. And what I realized for the healing part with divorce is I found some really good books. I found a book called From We to Me. And I thought that was a really good book. I started going to a group called Divorce Care, and it was through my church. And it was a divorce recovery group. And I mean, I was raised Jewish, and I was like, I can't walk into a Christian church. Like, that's not how this works. But the cool thing was that they were just really nice and really accepting. And, I realized like I'm not the first person to get divorced. And it was so crazy because I did this 90-day journey, and I'm, focusing on like my purpose, like what I really want to do in this world, and planning my day better, like respecting my boundaries. And I'm making all of these good decisions. And I remember this like moment where it was like towards the end of the 90 days, and I was actually driving up to go visit my parents, and they live up in the country, and it's like a 2.5 hour drive. And I stopped at a fruit stand. Like I pulled over to stop at a fruit stand to bring fresh fruit home. And I remember picking up a peach and smelling this peach. And I just felt so light. Like I felt so happy. And I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, why do I feel so good? And I realized in that moment that I had forgiven myself for the divorce. And it was like the most powerful thing, because I didn't know how much guilt I had around it. But I did, and it wasn't that I didn't try. I tried everything I could have. It was just, I saw it as failure instead of it just being part of my journey.
Got it. So if someone's dealing with emotional stress in your relationship, if you can kind of boil down the biggest, maybe 1 to 3 things that someone can do to help either, save it and or recover from it, what would those things be?
One thing I would encourage people to do is to find out really what a healthy relationship means to them.
Yeah.
So not in relation to anyone else, but take a piece of paper, or you take a computer and write out all the words that matter to you in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
like communication, intimacy, a sense of community, like whatever matters to you.
Mm-hmm.
And next to each word, write a paragraph about what that word means to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it will help you really, it's creating clarity around what you want for yourself, but it's also setting a standard for what you will and you won't allow in your life. And, if you're in a relationship right now and it's not the one that necessarily fulfills you, then look at this list you're making and see if this person, if it's conversations you can have with this person and say, listen, I really have been taking some time to really reflect, and this is what matters, and see if this person aligns with you, because I will tell you that the right people are going to come into your life, and the right people are also going to leave your life.
Mm-hmm.
And something else I would say is, if you're not in a relationship yet and you want to get in a relationship, a lot of times people will start a new hobby, or they're like, I'm going to lose weight, so I meet the right person. And they do all these things because they think that that's going to be the reason a guy, or, someone's going to be attracted to them. But the reality is that when you're actually, living in your powerful space, when you're being who you're supposed to be, the person's going to appear. Like I basically took a 3-year break. I mean, I dated a lot, but from being divorced till being in my next serious relationship, it was 3 years. And the funny thing is, it was 3 months to the day after I met Ryan, and he literally is my list. He is everything I've ever wanted in like, he's just my best friend. And then it's a bonus that we're silly in love. And like 38 days ago, not that I'm counting, we got engaged.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, thank you. But it's like, it is so cool to get to go through such an amazing transformative process and then meet the person that you're like, oh my gosh, like, it really can be this good. Like, how fun can life be now?
Yeah, that's great. So
Yeah.
that's awesome. So you got your relationship dialed in. You really did some soul searching, figuring out what you wanted, so you can kind of create that magnetic energy to attract it in, right?
Absolutely.
That's great. So then, what are the next things? Because we have lots of people listening to this podcast that they're either healthy and they're really rocking it in all areas of their life, and they're trying to gain the edge, or you have people that are kind of at a baseline of not so happy with their health, and they're trying to make those changes kind of moving forward. So we talked about the morning routine. I'm a big fan of, good, clean, filtered water, throw some extra sea salt in there, get some minerals going in your body, do a little bit of movement. I think that's great. What's that next change for you on the diet side? What was that big one for you?
Oh my gosh. So I am that person who I really honestly, I was diet to diet to diet, and diet in the bad way, because there's such a negative rep on the word diet. But in reality, diet is just what you eat. It's not what you're on.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not kidding you. I was high carb, low carb, no carb, yo carb. Like, I did any diet that I could think of because I wanted the quick fix. I wanted to find what works for me.
Right.
And what happened was, when I took out drinking, I also set some other rules up for myself. And I decided that I was going to take out white flour, white sugar, and anything processed.
Mm-hmm.
Those just simple stuff,
Simple
right?
stuff, right? Just kind of foundational
Nothing
stuff, right?
too crazy,
Yeah.
right? And so what happens when you take out these, I call them distractions and noise. Sugar to me is a noise, and alcohol is a noise. It's something, it almost numbs your body, so you can't, your taste buds aren't even alive. They're like kind of numb. They don't know what's going on. And so what happened is I took this out, and all of a sudden food started tasting different to me. And so when I would eat something, instead of just eating because I ate, because there was just what I did, I started to eat something and go, okay, how does my body feel when I eat this? Right. How does my body feel? Do I get energy? Do I feel a little tired? Do I have a slump a couple hours later? And what I realized is that my body feels good when I eat a lot of vegetables, when I eat lean proteins. And the other thing that I told myself is, like, no more restricting. Because I would go on a diet, the bad kind of diet, and I would say, okay, I can't eat this, I can't eat this, I can't eat this. So I don't eat, and I restrict myself for a long time. And then I get towards the end, and I'm like, I did so great. Now I'm going to eat 7 donuts. Like, it is such a weird cycle.
Yeah.
And so what happened is I go, okay, how does my body feel? And, I honestly took a piece of paper and I drew a circle. And this circle, to me, it can represent a plate for some. For me, it represented my daily intake of what I was eating. And down the middle of the plate in a straight line, so splitting the plate or the circle in half, I put a line. And on the left side, for me, that half of what I eat in a full day is vegetables, literally vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
And then I took the other half and I cut that in half. So I now have, and so with those two halves on the right side, one of them I put protein. And for me, that's beans, that's, chicken, fish, tofu, whatever. That's my lean protein. And then the other one, I literally put it into tiny little slivers. And I had dark chocolate. I had red wine. I put cheese on there, but it was all the other things that I love in life that I realized, like, I don't need huge portions of these. And I implemented another rule that was really big for me. And it's kind of an opposite of what I think a lot of people think when they eat. But I do breakfast like a queen, lunch like a princess, and then dinner like a pauper.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm eating bigger meals earlier in the day, still all good fuel. And then when I go to bed at night, it gives my body time to kind of rest and recuperate, and it's not working on this huge meal. Because I would eat a really big meal at night, and then it would affect my sleep,
So you feel better having a bigger meal at breakfast and kind of your number 2 at lunch from a mealtime perspective. How long are you going between meals?
And I eat 2 snacks too, every 2 or 3 hours. I do little snacks. I'll do Trader Joe. Like, I'm big because I owned 4 companies, so I'm always jamming. I'm on the road a lot, or I'm in meetings. And I have to prep in order to be successful, because if I don't, I prep meals on Sunday and Wednesday.
Ah, smart.
And yeah, so like I always have raw vegetables with me. Like I have almonds, like different things. I do Trader Joe's makes a turkey jerky with low sugar.
Yeah.
And so I have to have fuel with me in order to keep me going. And so I just made little rules that every 2 or 3 hours I would eat, and I wouldn't eat if I wasn't hungry, but your body will speak to you. If you take out the distractions, your body is speaking to you. And so it's just up to you to choose to listen.
Absolutely. So looking at kind of the meal timing thing, it sounds like you really were doing a good job stabilizing your blood sugar, eating really good, proteins, healthy fats, and you were trying to consume more of your carbohydrates from kind of like non-starchy veggies. Does that sound about right?
Yes, definitely. But the cool thing is, I will tell you, I was like terrified my whole life of like bread or potatoes. Like I'm like, can't eat them. Bad news. Can't do it. But reality is, you can just choose a really good whole grain that doesn't have a bunch of processed junk in it. And if you're going to have a potato, eat a sweet potato, and telling myself that I can have stuff and taking out that you can't have that, it was the most freeing feeling. And go figure, I'm not kidding you. From the start of my journey to the end, I was started at 162. And when I ended the journey, I was like at 130. And I have a before and after picture on social media. But like my morning routine of my little abs and these little things I was doing, these small implemental changes, they added up. And I ended the journey feeling so strong and so healthy. And everybody's like, what are you doing? Oh my God, what's your new diet? And I'm like, oh my God, we need to talk.
That's funny. That's great. So that's a nice little tip there. So give me a quick rundown. I'll put you on the spot here. What's a day in the life like? Well, let's go today. What'd you have for breakfast?
So this morning I woke up, before my 2 feet hit the floor, I have a glass of water, and then dropped to the ground, did my quick little exercise. My journal is by my bed. So I write 3 things that I'm grateful for. I just came off this 2-day conference where I spoke a bunch about actually health and my journey. So I was just grateful for the connections I made there. So this morning for breakfast, I had a cup of egg whites.
Mm-hmm.
I had half a banana with about a teaspoon of peanut butter. And then I had, so I saute vegetables. So they're sauteed from last night. Mm-hmm. So I'll do half the plate sauteed vegetables, and all different kinds. Like I really like vegetables, so I don't limit a ton except for maybe onions in the morning to spare everybody else. And then I'll do I add a little bit of smoked salmon. And then I do have a cup of coffee.
Okay, so you got some good omega-3, some good protein, some good fats.
Yeah.
Awesome. What's typical lunch look like?
Lunch for me is usually either a salad with some kind of a lean protein, or like sauteed veggies with some kind of a lean protein. Sometimes I'll throw a little quinoa in there. Sometimes I'll have a little sweet potato, and sometimes I don't.
So you really try to keep the inflammation down.
Absolutely, yes. And I believe in that. Like, see, I do a ton of stuff with I know you talk about it on your show, but like spices, like natural curries, and I get a lot of my flavor now from spices instead of from like sodium and different salts and stuff like that. Like, I think it's different to put salt in your water versus salt all your food.
Yeah, I think also sea salt is totally different than your typical table salt that's just sodium chloride. Right, exactly.
I keep it in my purse.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, thinking when I was in California at the Whole Foods, they had the real salt packs at Whole Foods. Those are awesome because you get like 60 or 70 minerals versus just the refined sodium chloride.
That's literally what's in my purse right now. I take them from Whole Foods.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's a really good electrolyte support. Awesome. So what other little tips and tricks that you did on the diet and lifestyle side that you would say are like in that top 5 that listeners that are making that transition now, what can they do outside of what you already mentioned?
I kind of implement the 85-15 rule. I know everybody has their different process.
80-20, 90-10. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. So for me, it's 85-15. So 85% of the time I eat clean, and then 15% of the time I'll eat whatever I want. But what you find is like, so say you love dessert, you have a super sweet tooth, and you're like, I love getting dessert at dinner. Yeah. So perfect, get dessert, but share it with a friend and have a couple bites, because the first bite tastes amazing. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And the second bite tastes pretty freaking good. But then the third or the fourth bite, it stops tasting as good. And then you're just kind of eating to eat empty calories.
Yeah. Totally.
So I would encourage you just to really try and like listen to your body. really listen. And then my fiance, he eats, like, he is 6'3" and I'm 5 feet tall. And he can literally eat whatever he wants. But the coolest thing about talking to him about food and his relationship with food, because he has no emotional relationship with food at all, is he eats really slowly. And he chews all his food. He, like, I swear he chews like 50 bites every time, 50 times. But the cool thing is, like, so I wanted to pace myself with him because I was like, gosh, I wonder, that's so crazy he eats so slow. But I love it because it gives you, like, you can respect your food. You can respect your meal time. And so many people rush through their food, scarf it as fast as they can to keep moving throughout their day. And what you realize, and for me, because I was such a driver in my business world, I ate like a driver. I slept like a driver. I mean, and what I mean by that is I was like, go, 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 sleep, like as little sleep, wake up, get moving, go, quick breakfast. And there's such a beautiful power in slowing down. So my rule when I eat is it's simple, but I set my fork down in between bites. Instead of having my fork always in my hand, I set my fork down in between bites. And that slows me down, and really, really was helpful. And then I'd say the last piece to nutrition that's really helpful for me is if you're starting at clean eating and you don't really know what it is, think about when you go to the grocery store, just hanging out on the outside perimeter, like where the vegetables are and the fresh fruits and the lean proteins. Because when you get into the center aisle, that's where all your processed, saturated fat, crackers, like that's where all the stuff is that's going to be doing harm to your body. And, like I said, when you start making one good decision, your body's going to crave it. Like, you're going to be like, are you serious? Like, sometimes I wake up in the morning and I'm craving vegetables, craving it.
Right.
And it's a beautiful thing. Like, I just went on this all-inclusive vacation, and I was joking around yesterday, but my 85-15 rule was pretty much reversed. Like, at 85% of the time I ate whatever I wanted, and 15% of the time I was like, I should probably have a salad. But the cool thing is when you treat your body really, really well, when you come home, you don't have to go on this crazy diet to restrict to get you back to where you were. You just go back on how you like to eat, what feels good for your body. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, that was just some extra like salt and water weight. And then you're back to where you were. And it's really empowering.
Oh, absolutely. I think that makes a ton of sense. I mean, these are just real practical things that everyone can be doing. I think the timing of food is really important. Also, that old adage of like, one chew per tooth, right? You have about 32 teeth on average, right? So that's about 32 chews or so. That gets your food up to that liquid kind of consistency. There's that old Buddhist proverb saying, drink your food and eat your water, where chewing your food up to a consistency so it's almost liquid. So when you swallow it, it's a lot of surface area for your enzymes and your hydrochloric acid to work and break it down. And then also when you drink your water, letting it imprint on your saliva so your body can process it better. So I think those are some really good things. And also just giving your appetite, that apostat, that center of your brain that controls your appetite, time to let the nutrients kind of get into the body so it can sense it and allow you to feel full faster. Where if you just scarf that food down, it's really easy to overeat when your apostatic mechanisms that control satiety aren't working optimally.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your feeling on drinking like a glass of water before you eat? I've heard a lot of people talk about that.
Yeah, I think with hydration, with water, hydrating about 10 minutes before is ideal. I mean, if you're going to drink like an ounce or two just to help food kind of process down, or maybe you're sipping a little bit of wine or something with your meal, fine. But hydration, ideally about 10 minutes or so before meal, because the stomach's really acidic. It needs to be acidic. It's about a pH of about 2. So hydrochloric acid can activate a lot of the protein digesting enzymes, and water's got a pH of 7. So if you're raising up that pH, that's going to lessen your hydrochloric acid levels and lessen your enzymes and create more bloating and burping and belching. So I find 10 minutes or so before a meal and or about an hour or two after a meal is ideal for hydration.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, and I find a lot of people too, this is a big thing, is the mechanism for like craving food and craving water can be easily mistaken in some individuals. So like before you eat, having like a big glass or two of water, you'd be surprised what happens to your appetite when that meal comes. It's like you eat less, even though you're not trying to, because you're just giving your brain a chance to catch up with what it really needs.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay, so we got the alcohol stuff down. We got meal timing. You're really doing, I think, a lot of mindfulness with the chewing and giving your body time to process that food. I think that makes a ton of sense. What else? What else is on that big 5 list that you use to help improve your health?
Well, one big thing for me was sleep.
Yeah,
So
huge.
I'll be honest with you, I fought sleep almost my whole life because I always was, even when I was in college, I was like 20 units and 2 jobs. Like it's just how I operate. And from 2007 to 2013, I literally took Ambien, the over the counter sleeping pill,
Oh, wow.
4 nights a week. Yeah, 4 nights. And it only was not 7 because I didn't want to feel like I was addicted.
Yeah.
And when I decided to really take a look at how I slept, I realized that I was doing a disservice to myself. And like I said, when I found myself home earlier, I was like, I wonder if I fought sleep always. So I hadn't taken a sleeping pill in quite a long time, and I'm drinking tea, and I almost started to create this so we talk about a powerful morning routine.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I started to create a powerful nighttime routine. And God, it's been such a huge shift for me. So what happened for me is like when I walk into my bedroom, I look at it and I say, okay, so think about going into a spa. And when you go into a spa, like you just feel good. You feel relaxed, right?
Mm-hmm.
You feel like you want to unwind. So I looked at my bedroom and I said, why doesn't my bedroom represent that? Like if your bedroom is so I literally consider my bedroom now my sacred space.
Yeah.
And I changed the paint colors to be more like calming colors because I had liked red, and that's not necessarily the most calming color.
Yeah.
So I do a lot of like cream. Now it's like creams and ivories, and I have a little bit of gold tones, some blue.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have full lights on, so I changed my light bulbs in my room too, so they're dimmer. I had a system that every night before bed, I had this folder and I would watch, and it's on my phone, and I would look at e-news and Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest. And I'm like, what? He's dating her? And, my mind's racing. So I implemented a rule, and it's a no tech hour. So before bed, any email, anything I want to look at on the internet, any text messaging, anything I want to do before bed is done 1 hour before bed. So I unwind from technology a full hour before bed. I do not plug my phone in by my bed. A lot of people have their phone plugged in by their nightstand. It's too easy for me to grab it. So I actually plug my phone in my bathroom. And that does one of 2 things. One, it makes it easy so I can't go grab it to go chat on it, right?
Mm-hmm,
and the other thing it does is when my alarm goes off to wake me up, I actually have to get my butt out of bed to go turn it off because I was like a 4-time snoozer. I just keep hitting it,
Right.
And I aim for 8 hours. I really do. I'm intentional about my sleep. But the last thing to sleep for me was that sometimes life shows up and sometimes I don't get 8 hours. And so I realized there was a mindset shift in here. And I can, I could either say, okay, I've got 5 hours. I'm going to be so freaking tired tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to suck. I'm going to need a cup of coffee at 4 p.m. and I'm going to drag all day. Or I can say, okay, I've got 5 hours. I'm going to shut down now. And when I wake up, I'm going to feel refreshed and amazing. I'm going to have the most beautiful, restful night's sleep. And then I wake up and I do my morning routine. And like mental shift for me with sleep was super, super huge. I think the last piece for sleep that really has been helpful is my mind races. Like a lot of times couldn't fall asleep because I'm thinking about a client I didn't write back or a blog I need to write or whatever. So I keep a journal by my bed, the same gratitude journal, and I call it a mind dump. So if something's happening in my head and I'm not getting sleep, I'll literally look to my journal and just get it out of my head. And once it's out of my head and on paper, I usually can get back into the place of getting into sleep mode.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think one of the biggest things, my biggest issue is just getting off technology earlier. The biggest thing I'm trying to do and working on it is, one, throwing your phone or your iPad into airplane mode, and then also clicking the nighttime button.
Good for you.
Throw it in
That
airplane
is
mode.
dangerous.
I know, it's hard. Throw it into airplane mode, and then also hit the the little moon button, half moon button that kills all your notifications. So then you don't have like calendar things popping up or, your to-do list going off saying, you got to do this, you got to do this. And then it's just like dead. Then your phone's off. There's no EMF. I throw my phone all the way across the room, kind of like you mentioned, at least 6 feet, but I keep it, 25 feet away. Yeah, I just have an end table that's literally at the polar opposite corner of my bedroom. And number one, when the alarm goes off, it forces me to actually get up. And then number two, it keeps that EMF away. And then also with the apples, they have the application there, Night Shift, and I make sure Night Shift is on so it kills all of the blue light. That's the light that really disrupts melatonin. So putting the Night Shift application on, or if you're Android, there are other applications out there that will kill the blue light, which shuts down melatonin. That. Yeah.
You know how you said the moon? Do you have to hit that? Do you hit that again in the morning to take it off?
Yeah, you got to take it off, or like your calendar notifications, or if people call you, it just will go. You won't even hear it. So it's great at night because it just, sometimes at night I'd have like calendar stuff popping up. I'm like, what the heck? So I use that now, and then it's like it's perfect. There's no more issues. But it takes discipline. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely, it does.
Well, awesome here. We've had a really great talk, and I want to just highlight a little bit more where people can get more intel and more info on you over at lost2found90.com, LOST, the number 2, found, the number 90.com, like a 90 days to kind of get your health and your life back on track. So I think that's going to be some great intel for people that want to get more information about how they can get their life back. Also, any way else people can get a hold of you or find out more about you, Rachel?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm really active on Facebook. So if you do the / Rachel Adams Realtor, you can find out about me. And then my main website that kind of houses everything I do is www.racheladamsinspire.com. And you can talk to me about speaking. You can see my book and program, real estate coaching, and all the fun stuff I'm up to.
Rachel Adams Inspire. Awesome. And then last question that I ask everyone.
Please.
Let's say you are stuck on a desert island and you only can bring one thing, one supplement with you. What do you bring?
Oh, that's so good. One supplement. So it's health related, one thing?
Yeah, health related. But if you want to go outside of health related, I'll let you do that too, as long as you have a really good answer why.
I think I'd bring like a flint to make a fire so that I can cook food and boil water, and you know what I mean?
Yeah, from a practical standpoint, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
cool.
I think that would be my go-to. And I'm not a fan of it, but my fiance really likes watching Naked and Afraid. So I keep seeing people like going on these shows and doing these horrible things, but that would be my takeaway.
Very cool. And is there any one supplement that you're doing now, you've done in the past that you really like, or you've gotten some success with?
Well, I'd love to actually hear your feedback on this. So I am training for my first full marathon right now. Yeah. And I did a half marathon, and we were told by some runners to I'm not a big believer. I think that the supplement industry from like a GNC standpoint is poison. Oh yeah. So 95%. I steer super clear from those. Mm-hmm. I only do natural supplements in my body, but I will tell you, turmeric, they told us to use turmeric after running to like help restore muscles or
inflammation,
something.
Yeah.
It freaking made such a difference, I think. But I'm wondering if it's in my head, because we honestly, we had a fairly okay healing process for tearing down our muscles as much as we did. And I'd love to hear your feedback on that.
Well, turmeric, I think, that's great.
One of my favorites.
I think turmeric's great for inflammation, and, marathon running can be very inflammatory in the body. So for some people, if they're not already healthy, it can be a stressor. But for my marathoners, the biggest thing I like is branched chain amino acids, because the body will allow those amino acids to pinch hit instead of breaking down your muscle and getting more catabolic, i.e. breaking down faster. And then also mitochondrial nutrients like extra CoQ10, carnitine, creatine, ribose, those type of nutrients that pinch hit, because the parts of your little cells of your body, these powerhouse cells, the mitochondria, really use them to generate energy. And that's a big part of, the kind of energy systems you're using when you're running as well. So those would be my two, branched chain aminos and mitochondrial nutrients.
Awesome.
Well, great. Any other parting words you want to leave with listeners here, Rachel?
No, I think just, the one thing I would that I think about a lot is people make such big goals for their lives and they have these beautiful ambitions, but they forget that they only have one body. They only have one vessel that's going to get them there. So I would really encourage you to just remember that if you're not taking care of you and you're not making yourself a priority, you're never going to achieve these big goals that you want to achieve because you're not going to feel good. And in reality, it is all about how you feel. So just remember that, you can't be the best wife. You can be mom, you can be husband, dad, all of that if you're not taking care of number one.
Got it. Yeah, I think even in the Bible, right, it says you got to love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's
100%.
that's pre-assuming that you already love yourself. So I think that's really important. Spiritual text from all religions echoes that as well. So I think that's a really, really great point to leave on.
Awesome.
Well, thanks so much, Rachel. Appreciate your time.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. Bye.
Got a question for Dr. J? Go to BeyondWellnessRadio.com and click the questions button. Then tune in to hear the answer. Also, if you like the show, click below to review us on iTunes. For more Beyond Wellness Radio, go to BeyondWellnessRadio.com.